In a capital-intensive industry like the airline industry, profitability goals becomes a long-term plan, and even if it is achieved, its sustainability is dependent on a lot of external factors. EgyptAir hasn't been any different. Ever since the airline was established, it has enjoyed marginal success year in year out. About 2 years after the airline was renamed EgyptAir from United Arab Airways, a great war broke. This was called the 1973 Arab-Israeli War. It was an armed combat fought between Israel and a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria. The Arab states were backed by the Soviet Union, while Israel had the support of the United States of America. It was a fierce battle with weapons of mass destruction on display. This war caused the airline to suspend some routes to prevent attacks or damages. Some years after, Egypt as a country drifted away from the influence of the Soviet Union, opening up more opportunities for the airline to grow. EgyptAir began ordering more advanced aircraft from the United States, Germany, and Britain. As the company was growing, it continued to expand its wing to complement its services in diverse ways. In the 21st century, the company could boast of multiple subsidiaries, which placed the airline on a higher pedigree. In 2002, a presidential decree made the airline a holding company with 7 subsidiaries. Many strategies were put in place by the management of the company with little or no interference from the government. The airline began launching subsidiaries and establishing a dominance in the region. On 27 July 2008, EgyptAir went on to become a member of the biggest airline alliance in the world. The airline's acceptance into the Star Alliance network gave a green light for greater opportunities ahead. Significant growth was seen in 2009 and 2010. The world was waiting for what 2011 was going to bring. This is where the story of EgyptAir suddenly took an unexpected turn. The beginning of 2011 had already sparked conversations in Egypt against the ruling government. President Mubarak has been in power for almost 30 years, and as the old Ghanaian proverb says, if a bird stays too long on a tree, it invites a storm. A revolution was building up. The atmosphere was ready, and on 25th January 2011, it began unfolding. The date was already set by various youth groups to coincide with the annual Egyptian police holiday. This was to make a statement against the increase in police brutality during His Excellency Mubarak's presidency. It consisted of demonstrations, marches, occupation of plazas, non-violent civil resistance, acts of civil disobedience, and strikes. These protesters were aggrieved and were willing to do anything to exercise their displeasure to the authority. At this point, all the protesters wanted was an end to President Mubarak's regime. Gradually, the peaceful protests turned violent. Many properties and human lives were lost, businesses were set ablaze, and the movement of people restricted with curfews. But this wasn't enough to hold the violence. This revolution went so far to the extent that it affected EgyptAir. The airline suffered huge losses in all aspects of its operations. Cairo was marked a war zone, and international transport into the country became so limited. Egypt's civil aviation minister explained that the airline lost an estimated 1.3 billion Egyptian pounds, which is equivalent to $185 million in a 2012-2013 fiscal year. This brought about a huge economic decline, and it even affected the company the more. The decline experienced by EgyptAir was as a result of increase in fuel prices, the devaluation of the Egyptian currency, and the continuous strike within the company. It is reported that EgyptAir has suffered losses more than $1 billion since 2011. In the annual financial statement of EgyptAir, For the 2019-2020 fiscal year, the airline subsidiary alone made a loss of 2.4 billion Egyptian pounds. Note that this is 10 years after the 2011 Egyptian revolution, indicating how bad the company was hit. In November 2015, the airline suffered a plane crash that brought down Metrojet Flight 9268 in Sinai Peninsula. This raised security concerns with countries like Russia banning EgyptAir completely from flying over their country. This gradually faded away, repairing the airline's reputation to an extent. In January 2016, EgyptAir was fined $140,000 for leasing aircraft to Sudan Airways during 2010 and 2011. This was as a result of EgyptAir breaking economic sanctions which was imposed on Sudan in 1997. While the airline was going through so many difficult times, a restructuring program was being drawn. This program was to help save EgyptAir before bankruptcy sets in. The aviation minister announced that EgyptAir Express, EgyptAir Cargo, EgyptAir Ground Services Company will be merging with the main airline. It was a very strategic move, and if all things moved according to plan, the airline would have been on its feet in no time. As the saying goes, life is what happens when you are busy doing other things. Before all these subsidiaries could fully merge into the airline, COVID-19 came knocking. Travel restrictions affected the number of passengers carried, revenue generated, and obviously the profitability goals of the company. In their annual report, you will realize that this even affected the number of online sales, which kept reducing each quarter as the pandemic kept spreading. It hasn't been easy, but no matter how tough it had been, EgyptAir is a strong force to reckon against. It is not going to be easy to attain profitability right away, but the resilience of the company demonstrates that there is still hope. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. This has been Bernard and you've been watching African Dream Motivation. Kindly subscribe for more.